Welcome, everyone. I'm so thrilled to have you here for today's explainer. If you've ever wondered exactly how traditional, handcrafted goods manage to survive in our modern age of massive commercial factories, well, we are breaking down the exact mechanics of that balancing act today. We're looking at a truly fascinating business case, a traditional agricultural product trying to navigate its way through a highly mechanized, incredibly fast-paced world. It's the classic tale of tradition versus modernization, and it is a wild ride. Okay, let's dive into this. Just take a look at this stunning brand identity. The beautifully carved wooden aesthetic, complete with those hands gently holding a woven basket overflowing with red grains, all set beneath a rising sun and terraced fields. It perfectly establishes what this brand is all about. This isn't your mass-produced commodity rice, right? It visually communicates a handcrafted, artisanal, premium product that is rooted deeply in the earth and human touch. So, here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll briefly touch on the heritage of Kentoman, unpack its internal strengths and weaknesses, explore the external opportunities and threats, and then wrap up with the future of this heritage product. Let's jump into Section 1, the heritage of Kentoman, focusing on preserving traditional farming practices. To really understand the business reality of this brand, we first have to understand its foundational roots. The core concept driving this product is heritage agriculture. This means traditional farming and rice processing practices that have been passed down through generations. It's a multi-generational effort that actively supports local farmers. So it's not just about growing food, it's about preserving a very specific cultural way of life that relies on human skill rather than heavy modern machinery. Moving right along to Section 2, let's look at the strengths. A nutritional powerhouse. These are the internal advantages of Dangag Kentoman Red Rice. Now, what's really interesting here is just how much of a powerhouse this grain actually is. Based on our source data, it is absolutely packed with nutrients, antioxidants, fiber, vitamins, and minerals. It positions itself as a vastly healthier alternative to your standard white rice. For consumers keeping an eye on their health, it's ideal for diets, primarily because it has a lower sugar content combined with a much greater overall nutritional value. It's literally a superfood. That the strengths aren't just on a nutritional spreadsheet, they're highly sensory too. It's got this distinctive red color and a naturally aromatic fragrance, plus an excellent taste that immediately sets it apart from ordinary rice. And here is where that heritage factor becomes a tangible business strength. It's manually harvested. That ensures careful handling and the selection of only the highest quality grains. The traditional processing actually helps preserve the natural nutrients, texture, and quality of the rice in a way that industrial processing would usually just strip away. That brings us to Section 3, weaknesses, the cost of tradition, and the internal challenges of manual labor. This is where we have to pivot and say, okay, yes, but. Because all of this wonderful traditional manual harvesting comes at a very steep operational price. Let's break down why the production costs are so sky-high. Instead of throwing the harvest into a highly efficient mechanized mill, the processing here is incredibly labor-intensive. Step 1 is the manual harvest itself. Step 2 involves agonizingly time-consuming work where farmers literally use a traditional mortar and pestle to process the grains by hand. Or for Step 3, they have to pay out of pocket for specific manual rice pounding services. It's slow, it's highly physical, and it is expensive. Naturally, this reliance on manual labor creates a massive production bottleneck. Just imagine a viral health trend suddenly causing a spike in demand. They simply cannot speed up a mortar and pestle to meet it. Plus, the high production costs force a higher retail price, which can easily discourage price-sensitive customers. Compounding all of these issues is a localized scope. They currently have limited brand awareness and marketing resources outside their immediate local community. So, this leaves us with a pretty critical question. Can a manual, traditional farm actually survive today's highly competitive, wildly mechanized global market? Well, to answer that, we have to look outside the farm and examine the external landscape. That takes us right into Section 4, opportunities, riding the health wave, and finding external avenues for brand growth. There is a massive, growing demand for healthy, organic, and functional foods right now among health-conscious consumers. Because of this, Dangag Kentoman has a golden opportunity to firmly position itself as a premium, handcrafted product for high-end supermarkets and health-focused restaurants. They can also leverage online marketplaces for direct-to-consumer sales, expanding their distribution far beyond that local community. And the marketing opportunities here are so rich. Actually, think about it like this. If you were asked to create a 10-second video advertisement for Kentoman Red Rice based on this SWOT analysis and that beautiful logo we looked at earlier, it practically writes itself. You'd open on that stunning wooden logo to instantly establish the rich cultural heritage and then immediately hit the viewer with those massive nutritional benefits, the lower sugar and high antioxidants. It's a perfect pitch. By partnering with dietitians or setting up product demos at food festivals, they can build fierce brand loyalty among consumers who genuinely value authentic, locally made products. But of course, the external market isn't just full of opportunities. Let's move to Section 5, Threats, the modern market and the external risks to the brand. We need to pivot again to face some harsh realities. The most existential threat here is plain to see. Rising labor costs combined with a declining number of people actually engaged in traditional farming. The very foundation of their product, the human labor required to manually harvest and pound the rice, is increasingly at risk over the long term. And honestly, that's just the start. They face intense competition from commercial rice brands that utilize mechanized production to offer vastly lower prices. There's also the constant threat of imitation from larger competitors who might try to introduce their own similar specialty rice varieties. Economically, any downturn means consumers might tighten their belts and stop spending on premium foods. Add in the unpredictable, devastating impacts of climate change, pests, and natural disasters on their supply, along with ever-changing consumer preferences, and you are looking at a very daunting external environment. So, how do we make sense of all this? Let's move to our final section, the future of heritage, where we balance tradition with the requirements of modern survival. This brilliantly illustrates the core tension of the business. Look at how perfectly the opportunities and threats mirror each other, like a tug-of-war. On one hand, you have a growing demand for healthy, functional food. On the other, an economic downturn could instantly wipe out a family's budget for premium groceries. You have the opportunity to expand premium distribution, but you're constantly fighting against the aggressive competition of cheap, mechanized commercial rice. You can promote your unique cultural heritage, sure, but you have to constantly defend against larger competitors trying to imitate your exact branding. To summarize what we might call the heritage product paradox, the internal reality is that this is a beautifully handcrafted, highly nutritious product, but it's fundamentally constrained by slow, expensive manual labor. Meanwhile, looking out at the external horizon, there's vast, lucrative potential in premium health markets, but the brand is constantly threatened by an army of cheap, mechanized commercial competitors and a shrinking traditional workforce. I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Ultimately, will the high cost of tradition be the downfall of heritage products like Dangag Kentoman, just completely pricing them out of existence? Or is that slow, manual, generations-old process the exact premium quality that guarantees their survival in a world desperate for authenticity? It is a fascinating economic puzzle, isn't it? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll see you next time as we unpack another incredible topic.